Hi, John.
Hey, what's going on, Joe? So I've been a fan for quite a few years, and I just wanted to know, how did you end up with Rainbow?
Well, I started out in a musical environment, I guess you would call it. I guess you heard the story before. My dad loved music, my mom too. In fact, my dad, when he was in the military, he was a staff sergeant, but he was also a singer. He sounded with Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, all those guys, during the USO shows. So music was always playing from an Italian descent. And we had the operas going all the time. And of course, the pop music was amazing because it was a lot of Motown and pop and all that kind of stuff. It was just great. And the genres were mixed. So there wasn't any real genres, I mean, you had soul and R&B, but then you had rock and rockabilly. It was all the same. And the radios played everything. So I grew up like that. I started out on the concertina, went to an accordion. At about 7 years old, I finally said, "No, this is not going to make it." And my father came home with a guitar a couple of years later. The Beatles came out, of course. That exploded everybody.
Yeah.
And I wanted it. Elvis, of course, Elvis started it, the Beatles. And this guitar was hardly playable. The strings were like telephone wires. But anyway, I managed, and it was all ear training at that point. Then he suggested, well, you better go take lessons if you're going to do this. So I went to lessons, and it's a typical story where you get very bored with what they're teaching you. I learned how to read music, treble clef, bass clef, etc. But what they were teaching me was not what I wanted to learn. Thankfully, this one teacher said you can come in with one piece, one song, whatever it is, of your own, what you want to learn amongst the Mel Bay series. The Mel Bay. Yeah, I was doing Mel Bay. So that was an incentive. But really, I just picked it all up by ear and practiced a lot in my room.
Right.
So that started me out. Then I started to play in local bands, really small local bands, teenage bands, 12 years old. We would play for like smaller kids' birthday parties. And then as we got a little older into high school, things like that, we played for the dances at the high school. And we made a profession at it because we were able to buy our own truck, our own sound system, eventually ended up in a band house, 3340 TAC 4-track recorder. We were doing our own songs, a band called Ezra. This band called Ezra played the tri-state area of New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, where Robbie Dino was playing, Lou Grammatico, Lou Graham, all these guys, Black Sheep. So it was this big entwinement of music at that point, explosion. And the bands at that time, everybody from Hendrix and Cream and this and that. I mean, we just had real music back then. It wasn't any contrived crap. And I think, and I thank God that was brought up during that era. So that just propelled me into a band called Fandango, which, and I'm going to just jump here. We got an RCA recording contract. We were big in all the clubs. Original material, most of the original material, a la Eagles, Steely Dan. Okay. And then, and we would do, of course, some covers and things like that. We did the whole side of the Abbey Road. I think it was the B side or the White Album, whatever it was. We were quite popular. A couple of record execs came in. They signed us to RCA Records. We had 4 albums with Fandango on RCA, and we had some big problems. Our equipment being stolen on tour, things like that. We played with quite a few big acts and cut our teeth and learned a lot from the acts we played with. Everybody from, say, Outlaws, Charlie Daniels, Dixie Dregs, Allman Brothers back then, Wet Willie, I could go on and on, even like Dave Cassidy, which is hysterical. But anyway, got a lot of experience doing that. And when that band was breaking up, I guess Richie was looking for a singer. And the story is that Don Airey and Coach Powell came into a club in Long Island where Fandango was playing, and they saw me. I was playing guitar and singing because I originally had guitars. and found out that I could sing by accident, which is really what I call a perfect mistake.
Right.
And we'll get into that later. We'll get into that later about metaphysical perfect mistakes. But so anyway, they saw me and threw it back to Richie and said, "Hey, this guy here, he's real melodic. He's got a great voice." So the story was that Richie hid in the shadows, came to see me, hid in the shadows, and then a couple of days later, I was in my New York apartment, studio apartment on the Lower East Side, and sweating it out because Fandango was breaking up, carrying the guitar on my back, going to auditions, things like that. And got a call from the road manager, Cullen Hart. And at first I thought it was a joke. And because I kept, I was like, who is this really? He says, "No, I'm sitting next to Richie Blackmore. Put him on." I said, "Put him on." He gets on, "Hello, mate," and all this, and says, do you fancy an audition? And I said, "Yeah." So, and I, of course, Deep Purple was one of my favorite bands, and all this. So I got on the train, went out to Syosset, Long Island, to a studio called Syosset Sound, and when I had about a 5-minute conversation with him and Roger Glover, and they threw me in the studio, said, "Start singing to this track and this track and that track." And I always brought my magic bag with me, which I called my magic bag, which was my writing. I would always write. I try to make an exercise of writing something every day. Not too good at it lately, but I've got quite a notebook anyway. But to make a longer story long, I pulled out. They asked me if I would improvise some lyrics and melodies. So I pulled out a couple of sheets of paper, listened to the track, started singing. They started nodding their head. Next thing I knew, Blackmore came in with a beer and said, "You got the gig if you want it." So I said, "All right, I'll go back to New York and grab some clothes." And they said, "No, you won't. You'll stay here. We'll buy you jeans, t-shirts, whatever you need. You'll stay in the hotel with Roger and you'll start writing." And that was it.
Wow.
Bam. Right time, I guess, right place, So
Then you were
kind of the rock star, story,
not like you have these days, right? Where it'd be all on YouTube.
No, well, look, there are still some of those almost famous quote unquote stories. In fact, I think some of that was based on not only me but a couple of other guys who had a similar experience when they got a leg up. And the thing was, though, John, is you got to prove it. You got to keep it. You got to prove it. You can't just fall into something like that and stay there if you don't have it.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. You got to have it.
No.
And you got to bring it. And I realized that real soon, real quick, because those guys, of course, were school professionals, and they expected, work ethic, et cetera, discipline and whatnot. And I learned a hell of a lot, and I'm thankful for the situation. Absolutely.
These days, it's like everybody is just trying to get famous, for mediocre talent, And,
Well, they want to be famous for being famous.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And no talent, however, I can understand that, people, you have to adapt, like back when I was growing up, my parents didn't like my music and before that, but, there's just things that you can't ignore when it comes to how the music industry has changed right now. And that's what bothers me. And that's why I think it's crucial to, have, guys like yourselves, the veterans like yourselves to really help guide, the
Right.
nation, so.
Well, today, I mean, it is a completely different business in many ways. I guess not completely, because the bottom line is still there, but actually it's different in the sense of there's no radio. There's no. We used to get played on the radio. People would hear it, and the more times you got played on the radio, it could be a crap song. Not saying we had crap songs, but you know, the earworm starts, and that's how, you picked up an audience. Now, if you had great songs and you were a great act, forget about it. You had a real big chance. But now I don't understand, because now there's like the Spotify and all of these streaming uh, houses. They just, I mean, I do well on the streaming, not wood, but at the same time, you don't make any money from that.
No.
You know that already. I'm sure you do. You've probably heard this 100 times. There's no money to be made now unless you're doing a billion streams.
Yeah.
It's crazy, And as far as what's happening, nobody buys CDs anymore. Nobody buys really records. Although I had my fair share on my last record, Belly of the Beast, the vinyl sales, but because it's kind of coming back. But at the same time, there's nothing there to support the artist for their development.
Yeah.
There's no money there. And the record companies, they throw a lot of junk at the wall. They hope something sticks. If it doesn't stick, they run away from it. They drop it. But then the other problem is that all these guys, who you said before, as you said, mediocre talents with a computer, and a program, all thinking that they can be rock stars or something instead of being musicians.
Yeah.
And real singers. They're using all kinds of phony gimmicks on the voices.
Yeah. I know.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
What is real anymore? And that, I think, is ripped the heart out of music.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. So you to move forward a little bit, how did your transition to working with Malmsteen impact your creativity and musical output compared to your time with Rainbow? Because obviously that was a little bit different. I think Ingve was still. Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is how I got into the Ingve situation was at that point I was friends with Jim Lewis, who was a vice president of the Polygram, and Polygram, Polydor, major parent company. And he had asked me out to dinner one night because we were kind of friends. We hung in the clubs in New York. And he just said, I got a guy who can play guitar, unbelievable, but he just doesn't have the writing ability.
Right.
I mean, he writes good compositions, but, as far as writing and singing and melody, he didn't have it. So he said, I want you to do what you did with Rainbow, because my job in Rainbow, and Richie told me directly, we want to get on the radio.
Yeah.
We want to be more commercial. We're not Dio. We're not the Dio era. We're not doing that whole Dungeons and Dragons thing. We're doing, real people songs, more or less. And we want to get on that radio, and I want my piece of the pie. That's what he said, And that was my job. So coming from that, I knew exactly what Jim had wanted. He wanted me to make Ingve popular in the sense of a radio hit, which I did with Heaven Tonight. And various other songs like Dreaming, which is crazy. I just looked at my streaming numbers. It's one of the bigger streaming songs. It's still going. So what I'm trying to say is the transition to Ingve was super easy, because writing is writing to me. All I have to do is take my frame of mind, my intuition, and just, okay, I'm writing heavier here, I'm writing lighter here, I'm writing pop here, I'm writing. There's a skill, a craft, and of course, an inspiration that is required to all of this. But as soon as you understand what you're writing for and what your job is, it becomes the skill and the craft.
Yeah.
Like I write AOR stuff all the time. I'm writing right now, a whole album of AOR. Yet I've got another metal album. I don't know if you're familiar with Belly of the Beast, but that was Peter Chakrin from Pain who co-produced and co-wrote that. And it's metal, it's industrial metal. Now, what did I do? I kept the melody, kept the hooks, but at the same time, that background there was all Swedish industrial metal sound. And it really changed my whole, shall we say, position. People were like, it's remarkable, especially at your age, that you could shift like that.
Yeah.
Well, I think you have to have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
You have to have the talent to do that. You have the wherewithal to do that. But that's something I learned through all the years of specifically writing for certain people. I wrote with Desmond Child, I wrote with Michael Bolton, with Holly Knight in California, a bunch of names, people, and had covers that I never redid. Maybe one song I redid, I think, but Jimmy Barnes did another song about. So all this experience was a writer writes because that's what he has to do. So I became, in fact, one of the things that's my pet peeve is that everybody just considers me some ballad singer. And I shocked them when I was doing more heavy stuff because I can do that too.
Yeah.
I have a lot of faces, but the writing, I want people to say, wait a minute, he wrote this stuff. He's got a lot of content there. And every time I hear a review or something, not every time, but I look at these reviewers and they think they know what I'm lyrically talking about. And they couldn't be further from the truth sometimes. One guy got it. And I wrote to him and just said, you get it nail on the head. Exactly every song, exactly every lyric, what I was saying. My whole message and intention. Because I believe in messaging. Now, I'm told that girls listen to lyrics and guys listen to, the guitar and the drums, which is pretty stupid, really. Because if you don't know the lyrics, girls are not going to go for you anyway. You can't, it's a song contains both.
Yeah.
And if you don't get the message, Jailhouse Rock or whatever song you sing, Heartbreak Hotel, what good is it?
Yeah.
So when did this all happen? When did all of a sudden, lyrics don't count? And is that what he's saying? So I think you can wear a lot of hats if you have the ability to recognize and to go inside yourself and understand what is needed for each project. In other words, if you're building a house, maybe you're a jack of all trades. Maybe you can do carpentry and masonry, maybe you can do several things. Why not? Architecture, whatever. And that's really what it is. You're building.
Yeah.
Song is built.
And as an artist, you have to be versatile too. Is basically, you're a master of your craft. First, you have to be the master of your craft. Is the impression I'm getting from what you're trying to say. And then once you're the master of your craft, you need to be versatile, or you can be versatile because you're already good at what you do, because you are a songwriter. That's what you're saying.
Well, John, you play guitar, right? Can you play the blues? Can you play metal? Can you play country? Can you be John Five? Can you be Steve Vai? Can you be, these are the guys, Like, can you be Matteo Mancuso? Wow, this guy, another level. So what I'm saying is yeah, and I've heard Matteo Mancuso play rock, and he's brilliant at it. He has the feeling for it all because he can play. He plays from the soul and from the heart. That's what you have to be. These guys who are one-trick ponies, you're going to stay in a lane, and that lane's going to dry up at some point.
Yeah.
Because you can only do so much in that lane. If you were a studio cat, for example, right, John? If you're a studio cat, they're going to call. That's another thing. I did jingles, and I'll get into that in a second. That's a real experience. Michael Bolton turned me on to this jingles business. It was amazing. And you had to go in there, and the guitar players had to go in, and it was different every time. Every time. And you had to be able to play that stuff. Otherwise, there's another guy walking in. Yeah. Before you even pack your gear up. Yeah. That's simple as that. It's got to be all around.
Somebody like Steve Lukather that did a lot of studio work back in the day. He's amazing.
Luke is amazing, and he's the funniest guy on the face of the planet, I think.
Yeah, I've heard.
Kind of friend. He's amazing. So you got to be that. You got to be all of that. Now, that's what you're talking about as a consummate kind of musician, artist, composer, so on. Not these guys who try to copy another band, look like another band, get their computer and write a couple of stanzas here and there and do the same formula as everybody else. That's not art.
Yeah, I
And
always
what passes for it these days is like beyond my comprehension.
joke. Yeah, yeah. So, what specific challenges did you encounter while working with Rainbow and Ingve Malmsteen, and how did these experiences shape your growth as an artist?
Well, when you're working in a construct of a group or a band or one specific leader, like whether it's Blackmore and or Malmsteen, you have to deal with people.
Yeah.
You have to be a psychologist. You have to be a therapist. You know, you have to you have to be able to read people, get along with people. Again, ego. Your
Yeah.
ego gets it. Ego is the enemy. It's a great book, by the way. Uh, it's a short book. I've read it 3 times, but it's a phenomenal book. And it's called Ego is the Enemy. I forget the author, but just look up Ego is the Enemy. And it explains how your ego gets in the way probably of every opportunity that you have in life, whether it's love or career or whatever. Your ego is always going to walk in front, of you, and it's going to run you because ego. And I heard a bit of the Vi that you did, the Vi interview, and Steve's right, man. That ego, you got to check your ego at the door. And I don't mean to say that you don't stand up for yourself, you don't have character or whatever, but you got to know when to pull out your gun.
Yeah.
You got to know which hill you're going to die on for which point. I've had my battles with Richie and Ingve as far as challenges, where I believe in something they don't, but I think it's right compositionally. They just want to play a beat over it or something, and I'm fighting for the song because that's my job.
Got it.
And it's not about my ego, it's my job. But for example, that song Dreaming, Ingve was playing through the whole middle eight. And when I got in the studio with Jim Lewis, because Jim Lewis finally intervened, now he's a vice president, I was a bass player. So he knows music. He comes in and he says, and I said, Jim, this is a vocal part here. He says, well, we need a release. I said, exactly. We need a relief and a release from what is going on previously to the next level when Ingve does finally soar in his lead, right? And then, so we just brought Ingve down for playing. I sang the middle eight, hit the high note where I had to, and then boom, Ingve came in, and it's just a very emotional part that works perfectly.
Yeah, nice.
So I had a fight for that. You know what I mean? It's like, and to this day, sometimes I get flack from Ingve because, it's always, it's too commercial. Well, I guess your bank account is okay. I mean, you didn't get back the money.
Yeah.
So,
That's one of my favorite albums actually by Ingve, because it not only had the guitar playing on it, but it actually had good songs on there. And
there you go.
it's kind of disappointed that
Exactly.
that was the only album you did with him, unfortunately. But
Well,
that's where the egos come
he
in.
got too.
Yeah.
Oh, he got too nuts. He got too nuts. And I could remember walking around Stockholm in the rain with the bass player Barry Dunaway just saying, "We can't do this anymore. We cannot live in this madness anymore. It's just insane." The way he would become, and we just said that's it. So
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
you got to recognize that you're at a point in your life where it's either going to make it or break it. And if you make the wrong decision, you could lose out on the whole thing. That's your opportunity. What is success? They say preparation plus opportunity equals success. Never been truer. Always prepared. Get your opportunities. You will have success.
Now, how do you reflect on the balance between creative expression and commercial success in your music career, particularly during your time with these renowned bands? Like the balance.
Well, I think commercial success and artistic. I mean, Belly of the Beast was a bit more artistic, but it's still commercial in the sense that there's melodies, there's hooks, and there's heavy messages. So I finally combined at this age. I finally really combined deep messages with with an artistic value, and still remain commercial. What does commercial mean? It means popular. What does popular mean? As Jimi Hendrix said, it's no crime to have your songs being played in a jukebox. Popular means people like you, you know? So I think everything I do has a certain amount of commerciality to it simply because I'm not just doing it for myself. You know, I mean, I'm trying to reach people. I have something to say. So yeah, I'm self-indulgent at the same time, very aware that I'm trying to pass this on to other people, to someone, to reach another person. That's what music should do, whether it's an instrument, a voice, a lyric. You're trying to incarnate something to them, impart something to them, maybe a lesson, a story, anything. I mean, some of the best songs are that way, you know, something that they relate to, something that's going to give them hope, strength, change their life, maybe. I've had so many people write me and say, you know, I was going to commit suicide and, you know, or this or that. I mean, get married to my songs, all kinds of stuff. This is a great honor. It's a great honor because they got it, you know, they understood where I was coming from because my pain and my joy is the same as everyone else.
Yep.
I'm on the same planet. So there's an old saying in country music. They say, you know, well, how do you write a song? And it's three chords and the truth. That's all it is. And how many people have done that from like Dylan to Springsteen to, I mean, that's the American boy, you know, the American story, John Mellencamp, whatever. You know, that's there's writers like that. Then you've got your Bowies and you've got your Sappers, you've got it's a wonderful salad of where we can draw from, you know, lyrically. And I try to take from everybody in the sense of, and then try to do it my way. I'm hung up on rhyme because I went to my major in university was English literature. It's a shame what's going on today. So many fake people, fake music, fake this, fake that. AI's coming out. I've got an AI program, and I program, write me a metal song. Boom, a metal song comes out. Write me a country song. Boom, a country song comes out.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying it's real good, but it's pretty close to like the idea. Scary.
It's gonna lack, you know, the human interaction and the emotion behind it, I think. And
Absolutely. There's no humanity in it.
yeah,
There's no soul in it. Soul.
excellent.
There's
Yeah.
no, you gotta have the soul. It's all about the soul, spirituality. Big, big subject of mine is all spirituality. You know, I've been awakened for a long time and I'm all into the spiritual realm. Everything I write about, anything that's been successful for me has been spiritual in that sense. And you can write spirituality, and I'm not talking religion because religion is a man-made construct, and I don't. It's not about religion. It's not about that, but it is about a faith in yourself, a faith in a higher power, a faith in the energy of the universe, in the creation, in the imagination. You know, knowing is nothing. Imagination is everything. All the great writers have said that. I've got a couple of quotes here I even pulled out that
Sure, I'm with you.
if I can. Only in men's imagination does every truth find an effective and indelible existence. Imagination, not invention, is the supreme mark of art, as the art of life. It's all an imagination. You know, you can know facts and figures or whatever, but if your imagination is dull and you can't imagine something fantastic, whether it's love or it's whatever it is, that's what gets people. You got to reach people. You got to touch they're just like you. That's all you're trying to do is reach out and say, so, I got a gift, you know. Thank God my father told me that. He said, you know, you're my son, but you don't belong to me because you belong to the world. The world is going to eat you up, Joseph. He said, and you got to go out there and survive, make something of yourself, because you belong to this world. They need you. You must make your mark in this world. You have something to give. You have a gift, and the only good a gift is on the giving. So you got to give. And it was one of the biggest things that I remember. Give that gift away. That's what you do. You play from the heart and soul. You give that away. If you can make some money in the process, fine. Feed your family. You don't need 10 steaks a day, man. You know, I did all that years ago with all the cars and all that stuff, and big houses and ex-wives. It's all BS, man. It's all BS. Buddha says man shouldn't own anything except what he can carry on his back. It's really all you need. I remember Cliff from AC/DC telling me it was funny. Because I used to hang out with Johnson a lot, and those guys. And Cliff said, I did the last tour with 2 pairs of jeans and 10 T-shirts. I went, perfect. Meanwhile, all these guys got costumes, makeup, and everything else. And 2 pairs of jeans and 10 T-shirts. What else do you need? You got to have this. You got to have art. You got to have soul in your voice. That's what it's about. I'm not in a costume band.
Yeah.
I'm not Kiss. I'm not Alice Cooper. I'm not, in one of those costume bands. Yeah. Hey, that's all good too. It's entertaining.
I liked.
That's all good.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's awesome because it's about the music. It's not about the guy. Right. And it reminds me of something Rudy Sarzo said that right now all he does is he just brings his bass and a little amp with him, to the gigs.
Yep.
It's not like
I love Rudy. I love Rudy. Yeah. One of the most real people in this business. He's a real, genuine person.
Oh yeah, it was really nice. But I think that's what it's all about. It's about the music. If you don't have it, then you're losing the meaning of it because, as you're saying, it's about relating to other people. I think that's what you're.
It is.
Now it's
yeah, it is.
Especially with your lyrics. If your lyrics are not, personal, and they're not able to relate to other people, people aren't going to get it. And it's not going to last. There's no longevity in it. And
well, there's no point in it. Yeah, there's no point to it because some guys will say, well, write cryptically, and I go, I could write cryptically, or you wouldn't understand one sentence to the next, one stanza to the next, to the chord. That's cryptically, and let them figure it out because I can't even figure it out. I tend to write stories. What happened? What's going on here? And then the chorus, of course, sums it all up, kind of. And I mean, that's really what John did. I'm from Hackensack, New Jersey. He's from Sayreville. Bruce, we're all from that Jersey coast area. And I mean, I sent John to my voice teacher, and he knows well, he knew what he was doing. He said he was going to be the Americana boy, and this is the angle he wanted to go in. And that's the way he wrote. You take Living on a Prayer or Bad Name. These are all stories that happened to people.
Yeah.
Inside people.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you.
So you want to write something cryptic and clever, and people go, huh? Right over their head. It's like shredding too much.
Yeah.
I think there's too much of that going on. It's just, can you play the blues? Yeah. Can you play one note and ring the hell out of it, and get your emotion in there like Leslie West or, Clapton, these guys did.
Yeah.
I mean, I took lessons from Leslie West, and he told me, he said, you take this one note, you just ring that neck, man. He says, and you get like, and you get that harmonic on that film, and it's like, he says, you could speak volumes like that. And I love his solos. You could sing his solos. Yeah. But as soon as you get that stuff going, who can be faster now? It's a trend. I think Marty said, Trinaman, he just recently said, that's got to stop. And he can do that shit all day long because that's got to stop. He goes, it's got to come from the heart and soul, man. I want melody. I want construction. I want composition. I want to rise and fall and feel something, So that's another part of this trend. That's just a technical thing, you know. I couldn't shred for my life. I'm still playing pentatonic scales.
Do you think there'll ever be another rock star? I mean, I don't think there's been like really a rock star since maybe Kurt Cobain, maybe, or when's there going to be Jim Morrison, or when's there going to be Jimi Hendrix, or, guys like that? It's like, yeah, I don't see it happening, the way that the music industry has gone. And it's really sad because there's a lot of reasons why the music industry is the way that it is now. And
True.
And one is definitely piracy, in my opinion, and that people take it for granted. There's no mystery in music anymore. It's not like,
Right.
You have that build up to, like, when I buy an album, for example, like a Rainbow album, and then I'd sit there and I'd stare at your pictures, and I'd be like, wow, that's fucking cool. I want to see these guys. And then, the anticipation, of getting to see you guys. And then, that the whole entire album is going to be like a journey, not just one or two songs or whatever. The whole album is going to be a story. And from beginning,
That's right.
I missed that. I totally missed
That's right. Yeah, well, people don't even come close to doing albums. It's one track. They don't even half the time know who it is, who produced it, who played on it, who wrote it, where they recorded it. I used to have to learn all that stuff. I needed to know every single thing.
So
all the liner notes. You know what I mean? And where blah blah blah. And all that. They couldn't care less. Now. It's just disposable. Everything is like McDonald's music, just throw it away. So it's part of the evolution of society, I think. Because when the art goes down, there are no pillars holding up the rest of the house, of society. Because society should be built on it's art, whether it's painting, it's music, it's writing and literature. Nobody reads anymore. Not really. And I'm a reader because I was English lit. So I read, you name it, every great classic there was. And which also, by the way, is perfect because they helped in what I'm doing now. Yeah. I go to college. Great quick story. I go to university. I go to orientation. That's Professor Mollenkott. I'll never forget her. She says, "So what do you want to be?" I says, "I want to be a guitar player, but you don't have the guitar program I want. You don't have any program here." Back in those days. She said, "Well," she says, I said, "So psychology?" She goes, "Psychology?" She goes, "What are you, nuts?" She goes, literally. She goes, "Everybody wants to be a psychologist because they are nuts." She says, "That's junk." She says, "You want psychology? Read Shakespeare." She goes, "You want the paranormal stuff? You want occultism? You want all this literature? All of life is contained into literature." So I said, "Okay, I'll take English lit as my major." And it was the most fascinating courses I've ever had. Little did I know I would learn onomatopoeia, iambic pentameter, all of the tools to make me rhyme and write and do what I need to do. Another perfect mistake. By just getting and flowing, going with the flow, as opposed to fighting it, as opposed to trying to direct it all.
Yeah.
You get an opportunity in front of you and you go, "Well, that sounds like it might be cool." I'm not resistant. And that really helped. I'm using that on this desk as we speak, right here, writing my stuff in this very room. It's amazing. And I remember all of it. And I take quotes from Shakespeare, or I'll paraphrase something from a Dostoevsky, and I'll write the story there. I urge you to listen to Belly of the Beast if you haven't. You got to check that album out, man.
That's nice.
Belly of the Beast. I'm warning everybody about everything that's happening today. Everything. 2 years now.
Is that something new that you've done? Is that what you're saying? It's one of your most recent projects?
That is my most recent solo album. I didn't do a solo album for like 5 years until this one. I did projects, but I didn't do a solo album. This is it. Our
Well,
reviews on it were fantastic. Belly of the Beast.
I'll definitely check it out. Yeah, I love your voice. You have a
Well,
you kind of remind me of as far as clarity goes, like a Steve Perry. You know, you're like a rock
yeah,
star, but you have clarity too, and you
I
have
can. I have
emotion.
clarity, but I got the grr too,
Yes. Yeah,
because
correct.
that's just a tool. That's just a buzz box, baby. You know. So check this out now. You'll go. I didn't know he could sing that. you know.
Absolutely love your voice. Um,
Thank
looking
you.
looking back on your remarkable career, what advice would you give to aspiring musicians waiting to carve out a successful path in the music industry while staying true to their artistic vision?
Get ready to suffer.
Mm.
You need discipline. You need to want it.
Yeah.
How bad do you want it? You need to sacrifice. You need to put all of your time and this that 10,000 hour theory. You need to put all your time into it. You need to put all your life into it. You need to starve for it. I did. I think a lot of us did, if not all of us. And it's not an easy thing. Uh, I tell my kids, hey, this isn't easy. This isn't for everybody. It all looks glamorous, but it's not. Believe me, fame and fortune is a trap, and it- you've really just got to have that passion. That's the number one word, passion. And that passion, that hunger has to stay there constantly. And as soon as it starts dipping, you have to find a way to build that fire up, feed the fire inside of yourself again and again and again. I'm 73 years old this August, and I keep feeding that fire. Keep feeding it. Got to stay hungry. I was just talking about it with a friend of mine the other day. He says, yeah, it's all about staying hungry, even after you have everything you want in life, materially, supposedly, and so on, including love and family and whatnot. Stay hungry. You got to do that next. You got to get that song. You got to write that next one. You've got to keep yourself on a level,
God, yeah.
and it's difficult. Sometimes you don't feel like doing that. So I would say to anybody coming up, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Because you got to be able to, it's not how many you're going to get knocked down, and life is going to come at you, and you better keep getting up off that canvas, because it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. So you better have that stuff inside of you, tough stuff.
It takes
Yeah, well,
a certain mindset and and you have to be passionate about it like you are, to be able to keep going.
I guess it all depends on what you're really after in life. If they're after fame and fortune, grab a bunch of money, get the hell out and sit by the swimming pool, I guess that's okay too. But if that's what they want, I never lived my life like that. I have a different, again, spirituality. I have an inclination towards what life really should be. It should be full of purpose. And this is my purpose. So I cannot not do my purpose, until they throw the dirt on me. I'm still going to be, there'll be a notebook in there. They, they'll find it. And these songs never came out, because that's my purpose. So I'm more about that. Of course, you need to feed your family, you need to make some dosh, blah, blah, blah. But you don't, if you're in it for the wrong reason, is what I'm saying, or that particular reason. I'm not a judge to say they're wrong. That's what they want. They want to be a flash in the pan. That's fine. But if you want to be an artist, if you can't help it, because that's who you are,
Yeah.
that's what you are. This is who I am. There's nothing else. And and your wife's got to know it, your kids got to know it, because there have been times I haven't come out of this room for it seems like a year, until they're all asleep, and I'm just carrying myself to bed, flopping down, getting up in the morning and writing again, because that album has to be done. You don't even see your people. They're like, how you doing? You're okay. You dedicate everything to it. And if you can't do that, don't even start. Don't even try. It's not worth it.
Is there anything else that you would like to share that you're currently working on that maybe people aren't aware of right now?
I'm right now currently writing an AOR album and another more or less metal style record. So I'm writing two records right now at the same time. Plus, I'm doing a pop commercial love song that I wrote with a diva, a female vocalist from The Voice, and
Nice.
it's like some crazy stuff, I got going.
It's just
But I love it all. I love it all because like this wide experience, is just so fulfilling. Um, what else? So I'm coming up with a new set for live. I'm not touring heavily because I don't. I shouldn't at my age, but B, because I don't want to, and C, because I'm selective. I'm more selective about what dates I do. So I'll choose certain dates in certain markets, do those dates, but I am not going to get in the back of a van at this age and tool around, the States or whatever, or Europe. It's just not going to happen. I've done that. I've been there. So it's not my nose in the air or anything. It's just now you grow and mature, I think, in different ways, and you start to look at your careers differently. So I put out my albums. I have a great fan base. Without my fans, I'd be nothing, absolutely nothing. And I mean that sincerely. They are the rock that I stand on. If I didn't have that base of people, I wouldn't be able to do this because no record company in the world would want to take me on because I wouldn't be able to give them a return for their investment. I mean, that's business, right? So the fans are why I still keep doing it, really, to see their faces and then to do some of the classic songs. It's just, I still feel every time I still sing I Surrender or whatever, it's still that charge, that you get and you remember what was happening.
Yeah. So, Joe, I want to thank you sincerely for your time and consideration. Again, you've been an inspiration to me for many, many years. And
Thank you, John. Thank you.